Have you started recording? Good. Good to go.
Yes,
Okay.
recording has started.
A quick introduction. My name is Paresh Sharda. I am a Technology Solutions Professional, TSP, for Azure Apps and Infra. I'm based in Houston. I serve to most of our customers within Houston, San Antonio, Austin area. I've been to Oklahoma and few other areas, but yeah, very rarely. Before this, I was with Harman, which is now with Samsung. I was looking into the IoT and basically big data and AI solutions out there. And then before that, I was with Tata Consultancy Services, a big SI, a global SI actually, based out of India. And I was there as well for almost pretty much most of my career. So coming back to the session agenda, today we'll cover very quickly on some of the new things which have happened in Azure. As you know, when you sleep and you get up, there's always something new which has come up with Azure. So we'll spend some time there. We'll cover overview of Windows Virtual Desktop. This is just kind of right out of the press. It's hot. We announced it yesterday, and I thought this was one of the area where many of my customers were asking for it. So I thought maybe let's at least start an overview with it and see how people want to adopt it further. And then we'll hopefully we get time to do Q&A. But anyways, if we don't get, feel free to email us over the power lunch. We'll be really happy to engage with you guys. Okay, some of the quick resources, as we know, I guess this deck would be available. So you will have Azure homepage, Azure update space, and I've also added some of the quick links for the Windows Virtual, including the blog post for the public preview, the documentation. There's a nice Microsoft Mechanics video, which it's only 10 to 12 minutes, but it gives a nice overview of what the service is, what are the high value props for the services. And we also have a hands-on labs. I'm not sure if everybody would be able to do it, but I know that partners and most of the Microsoft employees are able to do it. For customers, probably there might be an extra step there, but we will verify that also. But at least if it's not available today, it should be available to you very quickly. Okay, so what is Windows Virtual Desktop? To put it simply, it's the best virtual desktop experience delivered on Azure. Okay, the three key highlights which I would like to kind of bring forward out of Windows Virtual Desktop is first, it's the only multi-user Windows 10 experience where you can have more than 2 Windows 10 users concurrently running on the same host. So you're not limited to 1 or 2 there. You can have more than that. And based on your host size, it can go from 6, 7. I've typically seen 6 is a good number. After that, you start seeing some of the delays. But considering this is still in preview, public preview, the numbers might improve down the line. So that's the first thing. The second is it's optimized for Office 365 ProPlus. This goes into some, I'll just put up some background on that. Is we had an acquisition, FS Logics, if some of you guys know it. And that's where we mentioned that it's optimized for Office 365 ProPlus. And you can deploy it at scale in minutes. Obviously, the power of Azure comes into handy there, where you don't have to wait for your IT to provision infrastructure to get you additional resources for those typical end of month, end of quarter cycles, or when typically your workforce is actually joining in maybe at the end of month just to check their pay slip and put in their timesheets, for example. So kind of just tiptoeing into what those features look like. So here is the only multi-user Windows 10 experience. So this SKU, this specific Windows 10 SKU is only available in Azure if it is deployed through Windows Virtual Desktop. So this is where you will get ability. For example, you can see the screenshot, and we'll show you in the demo also that you could have more than 1 users. You know what? I missed the updates, but please excuse me. We'll cover those. I definitely want to cover at least 2 or 3 of those, but let's continue with the Windows 10. Yeah.
Move along, man.
Yeah.
If you have time, then we can cover it because
sure.
I think this is a very important topic.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Okay. So, and then this also includes the app remoting, where basically you're not just kind of sort of facing an entire desktop to your end users. Let's say let's say some of those remote users, they only come in every end of the week just to fill in their timesheet, and maybe end of the month or end of every 2 weeks to get their paycheck. If that is all they need to do, you can just publish an app for them, and they don't need to have a full scale virtual desktop for themselves, right? And then that's the another one is you will get free Windows 7 extended security updates for at least 3 years. So this is what is one of the driving reasons where some of the customers who still need Windows 7, obviously because of maybe some of the apps requirement, legacy app doesn't work on any additional platforms, you need to continue using that. So you have definitely two options. You can run it, continue to run it on-prem and pay for those extended security updates, or you could leverage this service where you will definitely get those updates for free. So this is another one major driver for customers asking for Windows 10 experience or Windows Virtual Desktop on Azure. Optimized for Office 365 Pro Plus. So this is where we have embedded the recent acquisition of FS Logics, which we did last year, and enabled it's that specific piece of code and software and that IP which enables us to kind of containerize user profile, so that rather than having persistent desktop, so basically before this typically this was the case, like if there is a user who is kind of who uses an apps which need persistent storage, even when you're using a VDI kind of a solution, you pretty much had like persistent desktop for those, like you had reserved a host which would be one user to one VM kind of manipulation. In today's world and economy, that doesn't make sense. We have much better solutions. So to make it a more cost-effective solution, what we did was we FS Logics had this concept of containerizing a user profile so that their apps and data goes with them as and when they come. So that is where you can have non-persistent desktops, and then still continue to have the same benefit without users experiencing any major performance decrease. This applies to, for example, your Outlook kind of an application which requires your PSD files to be on the desktop. So if you are not having a persistent desktop, let's say previously, every time user opens an Outlook, it will go to the Exchange server, online Exchange, and then try to download the mail files, right? Which definitely will add into delays and not be a good experience for user. What FS Logics does is it actually containerizes it, caches it basically, and makes a hot cache available instantaneously to anyone. The same applies to, for example, things like OneDrive, where a customer having a OneDrive, 1 TB OneDrive doesn't necessarily need to have a 1 TB on-prem or a virtual drive space for them. You could have maybe a 32 gig user space, disk space, and you can continue to have it. OneDrive up to 1 TB, where you'll have the tiering capability where not news files will be in OneDrive, while the one which have been used or recently accessed will be in that user space. And obviously the major one is deploy and scale in minutes, where you actually get the power of Azure, the global reach of Azure. So keep in mind here, and we'll go deep dive into the architectural components of the solution. The current public preview service is only available in one region as of now, I guess. What we have announced, it would be available in US East for now, but that's the management component of it. That's the kind of the management plane of it. But you pretty much can deploy this into any other Azure region of your choice where your host pools are going to reside. That would be under your subscription, under your tenant, under your control. There are only few caveats. There is because light travels at a certain speed. If your region is really far away from US East, typically above 150 millisecond, then we won't support that kind of deployment, at least till now, while we are kind of churning up and gearing up the service and making sure that management plane is available across multiple regions. Till that point in time, if you still want to try the solution, just make sure that your host session pools are not, or host pool region is not kind of really far or have a lot of network latency. Anything below 100 milliseconds should be fine. Lower the better, obviously. Okay, and the good part again would be everything with this entire environment. And this is one of the pain area where the customers who are actually managing their own current VDI infrastructure is they then have to integrate it with their current existing tool set, security mechanism, permission mechanism, or logging mechanism, auditing mechanism. And now all three of them could be different, could be same. The tool set may support, may not support, or there may not be a seamless integration. The good part with this solution would be This is very well integrated with all the monitoring, auditing, and security solutions and services which are available in Azure. So it's baked in, it's available right from day one. Okay, and we also have the ability of partner ecosystem where partners can come in and provide this as a service to our end customers, or they can enhance the experience of customer by coming up their own extensions. So that's the plan. We don't have many partners right now, but more and more partners are getting kind of included into this program. Okay, so at a high level, multi-user, scalable, uh, flexible for to both virtualize the entire desktops or apps. You get Windows 7 with extended security, and it has been optimized for the Office 365. If your managers, or if you want need somebody to just give them a kind of a 5-minute pep talk on what is this, why should you even think about it, these are the 5 points which will come into your mind. Okay, now let's look into what kind of scenarios we have seen, and you could see there we categorize them primarily into 4 major scenarios. One is obviously from security and regulation requirement, where you need more control on how users are accessing some of the data and apps. So this we have seen this in government, healthcare, and financial services pretty much, and in some cases even in oil and gas because of some of those environment and regulatory requirement. Elastic workforce. Now this is where your mergers and acquisitions, your short-term employees and contractors come into picture, where you don't want to really invest into a big landscape or infrastructure just for those short terms. And some of those road warriors or field warriors, which either are in the sales kind of an organization, which cannot have kind of a full-fledged desktop, but they only need it for some time, call center employees, as well as employees working, and the specialized workloads, where is like people working on fields, plants, really remote places. Those are also an area where you need this. We also seen specific kind of desktops being provisioned for specialized workflows like CAD, AutoCAD, and those kind of scenarios, or where they are doing a lot of simulations. So that's another area where we have seen the remoting scenarios, and we support all of those scenarios. At a higher level, these are the major components within the Windows virtual desktop services. So you see in your own virtual machines or in your own subscriptions, you will have those session hosts or the session pools, which will support whichever images you want. You want your own corporate agents to be installed on them. You want your own corporate monitoring installed on them. So those are all hosted within your own subscription. There's also a requirement for Active Directory, or basically these machines need to be domain joined, obviously, for if you want to leverage some of those capability. So you might need to sync your Active Directory there, or if it is Windows 10 or above, you can do even hybrid domain join with Azure AD. Okay. And as far as the management plane is concerned, this is where the benefit and the true value of the solution comes into picture, where customers who say that, yes, I need desktops, but I'm done with managing the gateways, the licensing, the scale up and scaling down of it, the brokering of connections, the monitoring, diagnostic. I want all of that taken care of by default. All I'm interested is I want this many sessions, concurrent sessions at this level of and this kind of images. So we take care of that. This is where you use the Windows Virtual Desktop Service within Azure, where we will make sure your access management, your access control, where you are authenticated against your Azure Active Directory, your scaling up or scaling down, diagnostic and alerting is taken care of. Okay. So if you look into from a block view, high level block view, you will have customers and RD clients which could use HTML5. We have dedicated apps for Android and iOS as well as Windows clients. So either they can use their dedicated app, or if they are really remote, and they can just spin up a browser and then open up the HTML5 client. They get authenticated against your Azure Active Directory. So even if whatever the client they may be, you are always authorized and authenticated before you actually go ahead and get access to that. And then here is your Azure AD with your desktops, your Active Directory, your user profile servers, and your apps. So if you want dedicated desktops, full desktops, these are here. And then if you will have few hosts where you will have your apps being served for your remote app kind of scenarios. And then within that we'll have your managed service, which is managed by Microsoft, which will take care of the underlying database, underlying brokers, gateways, web access, and diagnostics, right? So you then just go ahead and publish either an entire desktops or just apps, and I'll show you how they look like. And then you can manage and troubleshoot the connections between the RD clients and Windows virtual machines. Okay. End users at the end can only just connect from whichever favorite their client tool is. Okay, so enough with the slides. Let me quickly jump to a kind of how it looks like, and then maybe I'll jump into the demo. So I definitely have the updated versions of Windows 10, and that's why when you go ahead and let's say search for something like remote desktop and apps, remote apps and desktops, this is where you will come up. So for the first point in time, you might have to register by basically there's a URL you put in, you authenticate against your Azure Active Directory, and as soon as you are able to do that, these remote apps are automatically published to you based on your user profile and what your administrator have chosen. You will be able to see what have been published to you. So it says I've been authenticated, and then I have 7 programs and 1 desktop. So I can, when I click on view resources, it basically opens up this window which says that these are the 7 remote apps which I have been published or I have been authorized to use as remotely, and then I have a full version Windows Virtual Desktop. I should have kept that open. Unfortunately, I forgot to do that, but let me get it running just to show you what it looks like and the multi-user Windows 10 experience. All right, so here's my desktop coming up, and while it is loading up, we can also do the other thing is my remote apps. They are pretty much look like my local apps. So if I just scroll further down and see here, you will see that my remote apps are also listed out here. So let's say open up a Word, then you will be able to see something like this coming up, that you are starting your remote app. It's configuring the connection and basically getting connected to those app servers which are serving this remote app. And then it would be pretty much like this. So where, although I'm Paresh Sharda, right now I've been authenticated as my demo user. So you see I'm completely into a different domain altogether, and I'm authenticated, authorized. So it will make sure that I have the correct licenses to use this service, and it will behave and act just like your local app. This is being served remotely. So just keep in mind, it will snap. It can do pretty much whatever you have been doing it. You have access to the local copy and paste functionality. So if you have something on your local machine, or you can go ahead and copy paste it, you have access to local storage in that case. Okay. And this is kind of full fidelity experience you will get. And this goes both here as well as on your mobile devices, or for that matter, HTML5 client. Okay. Let's see. The only way you can differ how a typical your on-prem Windows or on local Word, for example, as compared to the remote app is this notion of here. You see a small glyph. I don't know whether you are able to see that. If not, I'll try to maximize that. Okay. Yeah, but you see this small icon. This is what represents that this is a remote app. You can always go ahead, pin it to taskbar, and you close it. It will work fine. Okay, so it just behaves like your local app. Now let's go and look into the session desktop which I got. So this is the Windows 10 desktop which I got access to. Now here's one thing, what you are seeing right now is a split screen. So basically, even if right now I have a remote desktop, this remote desktop actually automatically figured out that I have 2 screens connected and you're only seeing one of the screens. So I might have to change the presentation view of this display settings, and then okay, fine. Anyways, leave it. I'll not spend time there. But again, this is a full feature. You could see here at the bottom that this is a Windows 10 virtual enterprise for virtual desktop. So this is a very specific SKU which is only available in Azure. On top of that, the one thing which I mentioned you earlier regarding Windows 10, Windows Virtual Desktop, and the multi-user on Windows 10 is here is it. So this is a host which is currently almost supporting, wow, 8 or 9 of those users. Now, obviously some of them are disconnected and I'm the only one who is demoing it. So basically I'm using it, but this is a demo environment which most of our technical field folks are using to demo the capability out here. Okay. Uh, this again is a full-fledged desktop. You can work with Cortana if you like, or you can access. So from an end user perspective, there's no difference out there. Additionally, I typically get question, okay, will I have access to my local machine where I can maybe copy paste? Yes, you will have. So for example, you can see here C and D drive. These are my network drives which are on my own local laptop here or Surface, and you will be able to actually even access those out there. So based on the policies what you have set up, you can configure all of that. Okay, just a quick time check. We still have only 6 more minutes. I want to make sure that we have anything else. I can take some questions now, or if you want, we can actually go through updates also. But at a higher level, this is what I wanted to show very briefly what the solution looks like. We also have an HTML5 client. Let me see if I have it open available. No, okay, it will take some time for me to load it up. So, okay, we can do it at some other time then.
So, Paresh, I have one question. I was reading it and I may have missed it. How the pricing is? I mean, is it?
Okay, I wanted to avoid the licensing and pricing, but you caught me. So the reason being, this is a preview product. Okay, we do have a published licensing, and that's where let's go and look into the update page, because that is what it will help us out. So you definitely need certain level of Office 365, and let me see if I have opened it up automatically or no. I'm just looking for the windows where it is going up. Okay, so here are my tabs. Okay, let me. You see, I'm getting this question so many times. I've actually tabbed them
Bookmark it.
together because now this keeps on coming out again and again. Okay, here is it. So hope Navid, you're happy now. I don't want to spell it out, but this is all you need.
So,
So you can reuse your licensing. If you have an existing licenses, you can continue using this with no additional licenses for you. Okay, from a service perspective. But obviously, when you use those VMs, you provision those session hosts, there's an Azure bill you might get up that could include, based on the size of your environment. If you're having 8 or 10 virtual machines running as part of your host pool, that is the cost you pay, but that is your typical Azure infrastructure cost.
okay. So let's say that I don't have any licenses. I mean, I'm just starting. So is it then it will automatically bill me for those licenses for that period of time? Is it how's that?
Yeah, so right now those clarities are being still coming are coming
Okay.
up. So right now
Okay.
we don't have that
That's good.
full-fledged clarity on, okay, if somebody who is just starting at fresh and they don't have licenses, should they buy this license first, enough number license,
Hmm.
and they can just continue using it, or they will the service have a pay as you go kind of a model where service you pay for the Windows Virtual Desktop service as part of the Azure, and then you also have a licensing included in that. So that license pricing, at least I don't have that info. We can definitely dig deep and ask the PM teams to see if that licensing is available or that pricing is available.
No, that's good information. So basically, they're looking into it because I thought I missed something.
Yeah,
Thank you.
but good question, that like somebody who is just want to kind of try out and don't want to get
Yeah,
into a longer EA licensing, what
that's
are
true.
their options? Yeah,
Yeah.
okay, makes sense. Any other questions before we quickly maybe touch upon the updates? We have only 3 more minutes, right, Navid? I
Yeah,
hope.
yeah, yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Oh, no, that's
That's
fine.
So
quite.
I
Yeah, go
have a
ahead.
question, sorry. What about the updates of the session host, like a golden image management? And how do you even provision this environment? Do you provision from Office or do you provision from Azure?
Okay, you can provision it from all of the mechanisms which we typically support in our ARM model, ARM model in Azure. So As far as images are concerned, you can continue using your on-prem images if you want. Basically, you just prep them, your golden images, you can bring it them on Azure. That's one way of doing it. The other is typically I've seen customer provisioning a VM in Azure, then configuring it to their requirements, and then kind of basically using that as your golden image going forward. Okay, from an access perspective, you currently we support PowerShell. The portal experience for Windows Virtual Desktop is still kind of gearing up. We do have bets in the preview portal, but I'll tell you that yes, it definitely needs some more updates and it's gonna come up. Okay, so you can use your CLI, PowerShell, REST APIs to provision this entire environment. Okay, as far as the updates, Windows updates are concerned, from the management plane perspective, the managed service will take care of it. So you don't need to worry about its availability, its patching, security of that managed service. We'll make sure of it. But because those are your images, which is typical with any infrastructure as a service, right? Anything beyond the hypervisor at the OS level would be customer's responsibility. So if you have a new update or a new image which has those new patches already included in it, and you want to make those available to your end users, it would be under your control. Okay, so those are the things which would be under your control in the typical IaaS kind of a scenario.
I have a question about the AD dependency.
Yeah.
When are you going to get rid of it?
Okay, there are multiple things. If we want, we definitely can. For example, if everybody is on Windows 10 and they can just use the hybrid AD join, if you know that, right? You can continue doing that. Okay, but the reality is many of our customers still are on Windows 7, right? And there are still apps which are dependent on Windows 7. Somehow they are just not, either they're unsupported, the developers are not available, or whatever the reasons are. And some of the apps actually require the typical AD, not the Azure AD. So that's the reason we have it right now. Okay.
But if you have a customer that has a requirement that no passwords or password hashes be stored in any cloud directory, we could support that with the hybrid AD logon. Then the requirement just shifts to say, okay, you can do this, but you have to be on Windows 10.
Yes, or Windows 6. If the server OS is concerned, then it's a higher level of server OS. Okay. Good question, by the way. Thanks. Okay,
Paresh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Is the iOS and the Android app available now?
Yes.
For the preview? Okay.
Yes. It's the Windows Remote Desktop. So if you just go, for example, I just did today also, because I was just waiting for the preview announcement to come up. I actually don't have my DeX pad. I ordered it. If I heard for more. So this specific solution is also in specific scenario, like if you have a Samsung phone and if you're using the DeX accessory to connect it to your desktop, then you will actually get a really full-fledged, and that's where that video link which I shared earlier on, Microsoft Mechanics. You will be glad to see that you, even if with your phone and with our remote desktop app, you will get the full fidelity desktop if you just have that USB-C to HDMI cable, okay, or the DeX accessory, either ways. So just go download the app, see the release notes. You might see that some of those have been, the latest entry would be updated to support Windows Virtual Desktop. All right, so while we are still waiting for a few questions, quick updates. We had a lot of evolution within, I'll not say revolution, but at least evolution with Azure Security Center. I know we are pretty much over time, 2 minutes, and your questions are more welcome. Okay, I know you guys can always go through these updates. So if anybody has a question, go ahead and shoot me. One thing I wanted to highlight was adaptive network hardening in Azure Security Center. This is typically where we use machine learning as part of, I know people use NSG, some of them are really happy with it, some of them say, yeah, this is another task I need to do. And many times when you have a large environment, NSG and management of NSGs can become a daunting task. So this is where basically we have applied, if your virtual networks and VMs are managed or are basically connected to the Security Center solution, we can actually, using our machine learning models, determine the traffic pattern and then recommend and auto enable some of those NSGs. A typical example would be if, as part of our threat intelligence, we have identified a a botnet or maybe definitely a rogue IPs or a set of IPs, right? And if somehow one of your VM starts communicating with those, earlier on, what used to happen was if you had enable security center solution, you will get an alert that wow, this VM is talking to something bad, which we already know. You should take care of it. Now what we do is we tell you, yes, this is talking to the bad actor. We also say that here's the bad actor and here's the recommendation. Here's the NSG which will block that access. Do you want to do it by yourself, enable it, or if you want, we can auto enable it for you. So you don't even have to kind of wait for the action to happen after that alert. If specifically for this kind of scenarios, right, where you are talking to your master servers in botnets or something is trying to expand its landscape within your environment, this quick action is really helpful. Okay, this also includes basically if those energies are quite broad. For example, you just put up a very big subnet and allow access from those entire big subnets to your environment, but typically only a subset of those big address space is accessing your environment. Then this NSC can actually even recommend that rather than using, let's say, /16, better use /24 as the source subnet to allow that. So those are the kind of scenarios where this adaptive network hardening is really helpful. Okay. Premium blob storage. This has been now came out in general in GA. So this is where you have specific applications which require blob storage, but they require the performance of a premium storage. So this has come out, and support of Azure SQL or SQL Server on Azure VM as part of the Azure backup. So now we natively support the backup mechanism within a SQL Server running in Azure VM. Okay, this I thought were the really most important, at least from my perspective. I am more from the infrastructure side, so yeah.
Sorry, man. Just a couple of questions on the IAM window.
Oh, okay.
There is a about portal where you enable it and the plan to release the SKU outside of Azure. So
the Windows 10 multi-user, I don't have an answer on that, and I don't have any plans for that, any knowledge of any plans of that. Okay, so I understand like this was the first question even I asked. Okay, can my customer get that image and run it on-prem? How will that impact?
What is where is in the portal do you enable the remote app settings?
In the portal?
Yeah, where in the portal do you, because the remote app setting you have to do. I mean, I think it's in the IAM window.
IAM window.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me see that. Let me see the questions here.
So maybe you will understand it better if I'm not explaining it right.
Yeah, so as I said, the portal right now, so you will have the admin plane where you can actually go ahead and make those changes. But let me see, I'm going to the IAM window. Where is it? Okay. Is it just me, or why can't I see the messages for the IAM?
No, you should be able to see those.
Oh, okay. I don't know.
I can read it to you.
Okay.
Where in the portal do you enable the remote app setting? And if Nagesh, you are online, feel free to ask. Or maybe he has to maybe jump on to the other meeting or something.
Oh, okay. So as I said, right now the portal experience in the preview is quite limited. In fact, when I had access to the portal, I accessed this solution. There was no portal experience to it. We started with the REST. We started with the PowerShell actually. So I will have to see whether I have that access right now. If yes, then I can definitely show you very quickly. Meanwhile, any other questions while
Yeah, is there a plan to release this SKU outside of Azure? I don't think so. It is possible.
No,
is it?
No. This right now I don't have any info whether it is possible or whether there is a plan for it. Okay,
because the thing is,
I never say no. I never say no.
Yeah, because then you can use remote desktop services. That's it. You know.
You can pretty much do the entire thing manually if you want right now, right? With desktop services, and I have one of my customer does it, and I know that it's painful from a management perspective, and many times it will become even costly because The good part is you could set up the scaling up and scaling down, which could be automated here, where you can reduce the number of session hosts so that your compute cost on Azure side becomes lower. Okay, so you could do that with PowerShells and automation in Azure right now if you're manually doing it. But again, it's a lot of effort to do that kind of a work.
Got it. Good. Thanks.
I've seen it mentioned several times that you can run Citrix on top of this.
Oh,
And I was just wondering what features Citrix would deliver that the base solution doesn't deliver.
yeah, so Citrix would be leveraging the Windows Virtual Desktop services. That's the plan right now. So again, Citrix is a great partner of us. And when we came out this solution, obviously the customer said, okay, are you gonna compete with Citrix right now? Right? That was the first question always the customer had. But I'll say in this case, it's more of a based on what level of maturity you are in and if what level of your relationship with Citrix is. If you still want to leverage Windows Virtual Desktop solution, Citrix has the capability to integrate this solution in their overall offering. So you can continue to be with Citrix, but they will use the backend services of Windows Virtual Desktop solution. So if, for example, within Citrix, if you want to leverage Windows 10 multi-user, then that's how you will be able to leverage it.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. And that's where the extension part, which we mentioned, like we definitely see a good play here for our partners, because our partner brings to table very unique capabilities, which obviously, if we want to do it, it will take a lot of time or maybe a lot of resources. So that's where we have this capability where this solution will be extended to our partners also.
Good. Any other questions? Okay. Thanks, Paresh.
No problem. And
Very
again,
helpful.
as I said, you have our aliases, so I hope you can always reach out to us in case you have any follow-up questions.
Please feel free to reach out. Thank you. Thanks, and I hope everyone has a great weekend. See you next week.
All right then. Bye.
Thanks, Paresh.